Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to the Patio Heat channel, where we create visual concepts of infrared heating as well as tips for outdoor comfort. Our one-on-one customer support helps you make the best decisions for your applications. We strive to earn your business. Visit our patioheat.com website for sales and more information. Now let's get heating. All right, so here we have this residential application here, and first of all, I'm going to remove this sidewall here, but I wanted to show you how well protected this is. It's a two-story structure, maybe even 3 stories. I'm not quite sure about that, but you can see here we have this nice structural part here, and then we have a covered patio section here and a long wall that comes out to about here. So with that being said, this is a well-protected patio. So let me go ahead and take off that wall so we can maneuver through here a little bit easier. So the next thing I want to show you is just the overall dimensions that I have here. So I have about 29 foot 3 inches to this edge here. From here, I have a 13 foot 1.5 inch from the wall to the outside edge here. And then I have a height of approximately 12 feet. Now the 12 feet is not something that was given to me, so I'm not quite sure the true height, but 12 feet is the maximum height that you really want to ever put a 6,000 watt unit in this configuration. So next we have some recessed lighting up in the ceiling. This is a wooden tongue and groove ceiling area, and then I think if that's about it. We do have these doors. I believe they are pivoting doors. I'm not quite sure of that, but that shouldn't be a problem as long as we are meeting the clearances below the heater. So the clearances below the heater are from the heater's edge itself, not the flush mount, but the heater's edge itself is 18 inches out and then 36 inches down, and that's true on all 4 sides. So let's see if there's anything else here that I want to talk about. I think that is about it as far as dimensions and issues. Oh, there were in the plan there were some drop down lights that are above the bar area here. So this heater here may or may not be allowed, but you can see if they're in line with the openings here for the recess lights, then we're meeting the clearances with regards to those. So just bear that in mind. I think that's about it. We have a TV set here with a seating, sofa seating over here, and dining table right here. And then I believe there are some bar stools that are going to be here. So all that is important to know as well. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the overall footprint first of all. And so the overall footprint here, you can see we have a nice crossover raise, and with the height of 12 feet off the finished floor, the ideal height is 10 foot off the finished floor, but this would be adequate enough for an environment that's well protected, like I had spoken before. And then you can see here that our coverage here is pretty much the whole distance practically from left to right here. So this is a good coverage, and I would say this would work fairly well. Also, you may want to have a control system on something like this, and the reason behind that is because in the summer months that you might want to have just a little cooling, or excuse me, a little heating during the cooler time of the year. You'd want to control these units so that you can dim them down a little bit, or use a duplex switch. Duplex switches would allow you to turn one element on, one element off, or all 6 elements on, or maybe just 2 elements on, something of that nature as well. So just bear that in mind. And then now I'm going to go into some issues with regards to clearances or mounting the flush mount itself. Let's just look over here. So typically with the flush mount kit, you have the heater itself, you have the flush mount kit, and then you install a 1-hour fire rated drywall, 5/8 drywall around the entire cavity, and that allows you to minimize the clearances to combustible materials. If you look at here, you can see that there's the different dimensions. It's a little bit blurry because it's not a big high image, but in any case, you can see here's the flush mount inside of a wooden, and this is supposed to be a 2x8 here, and the subfloor is over here, and the unit itself fits inside of the unit, or inside of the flush mount cavity here. Going back to this application here, what we have, I believe, and I'm going to take off the top here, I believe this is a steel subfloor here that allows for a concrete pouring on top. And then also I'm imagining that these are steel beams going across here. They're double steel beams. And I believe they're probably only 6 inches tall. And that's one issue that I see here right off the bat. Now, if it's all non-combustible, you would have to build a metal stud frame around the FlushMount kit so you can attach it properly to, you know, these studs here. So you might bring a stud from here to here, and then one that goes between, you know, the one that's over here as well. So a stud back here. Let's see if I can get in here. So from here to here, and then you'd screw in the FlushMount itself into those studs, and then you might run a stud that goes along this whole area over here. Now, the other issue is if this is only 6 inches tall, being non-combustible, it should be okay. Now, I am not a inspector. I'm not a builder, contractor. I don't have the true information regarding this, but I have seen this done out in the field before. So what the thing is that when I've seen this out in the field before, the biggest issue is regarding placing the heater inside here. So, you know, basically, let's go over here real quick. Basically, you take the unit itself and you need to basically turn the unit. So this is turn it a couple of degrees, and then you need to move the unit up into the bay itself of the FlushMount kit. All right, and then you need to go ahead and, you know, move it so that you can get past, there's little tabs over here so that you could get past those tabs and move the unit all the way in. And then you need to change the angle back to its original angle. And I'm just going to kind of haphazardly do this back to the 30-degree angle. Now, when you move the unit in like that, I'll go back over here, that the unit itself has the junction box located on one or the other side, and that might be an issue with regards to making contact with the bottom of the flooring here, so that you can't get it in there. So you have to wedge this thing in kind of tight, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. And it is kind of difficult to do, but it is something that's doable if you have that, you know, 6 inches of room here. Again, this only applies if everything inside of here is non-combustible, so bear that in mind. All right, I think that's about it. And I should also just mention that, you know, this is just a idea. You want to have local codes checked before you make this consideration at all. So the next thing I want to just mention is, so looking at the drawing that I received, I placed 15 of these beams, these double beams going across here. And so the one ended up being in the center, and I know that there are some lighting up here, and then I placed those in the center here as well, and you can see my heater is not in the center. So I'm not quite sure about the true positioning of these beams and the true positioning of the lights themselves. I believe I just took a edge here and moved 24 inches here, 24 inches here, and then, you know, 24 inches on either left and right, and then made 3 additional sectors in here. Just divided this whole section by, you know, 4 different sectors here, and that was my line. So that did end up being the center with the lights, but not with the heater itself. The other thing I want to mention too is that when you have a FlushMount system and you're going to place combustible tongue and groove wood on the surface of the ceiling, then what you want to make sure you do is allow for the heater itself to be at the same elevation as that wood itself. So you're going to drop down those little tabs that come with the units. I don't have them imaged here, but there's a tab here, a tab here, and you can look at that. Actually, I'll show you over here. They are, I believe, shown on here, so you can see the tabs here, tabs here. You have a slot here, and you can move it up and down based on the height that you're looking for. So going back to here, you want to make sure, again, that the bottom edge is at the same elevation as the bottom of your finished sealing on a combustible surface. Again, we'll go ahead and look at the clearances below, so that you can see the clearances below are matching up with that bottom here itself. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention about that. The other thing I should say is, again, between 8 and a 9 foot center to center on the heater itself, I just place them based on the beams that I have inside of here. So if we go back to those beams, I basically placed it in the center and then moved everything over, you know, based on this center of the patio itself. So this might be something that you can move over, but about 8 to 9 foot center to center is most ideal for application height of this style here. All right, I think that is about it. Yeah, if there's any questions, if you're a contractor, you want to make a comment about the non-combustible part here, electrician maybe, that you want to say, hey, this is right or wrong, I really truly appreciate that. Go ahead and do that. And other than that, I think that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. If you're looking for some assistance with your outdoor heating application and you would like us to review your plans, please send your information into designs@patioheat.com. I'm Steve. Please tap that like button if you find this video useful. We don't advertise, we're not monetized. YouTube does not promote our channel in any way unless we receive a thumbs up from our viewers. And we thank you so much for doing that. Have an excellent day.